Hello gang, and welcome back to the channel. We're at Empire Workshop. Workshop. At Empire Workshop. Should I start that over? Nah. We figure shit out. First up, well, for this video, it's the Jonsered 490 that I couldn't get a bar and chain to work out for and all this stuff. All right, what was happening was every time that I put on the clutch cover and tightened it down, it was locking the chain down. Right? I was like, well, what's going on? It's a small mount Husky bar. Why is it pinching? Why is it pinching? Yeah, 72 drive link, 18-inch bar. It just couldn't get it to work. It kept pinching it. Well, there's two possibilities of what's going on. Number one, this is a laminated bar, and so it's going to respond differently than a solid bar will whenever you tighten down those bolts. And anyways, so I've heard that Nate told me that. He said he switched to a solid bar and he didn't have the issue. But I'm not super convinced on that. Anyways, well, I've got this other little like side project going on where I'm looking, I'm wanting to do something with a bar for steel bars, and I've got a good many of these total super bars from the old fella Jack that basically shut down his saw shop, and I'm looking at this, I was like, that's not a steel mount. That's a small mount Husky, right? And I was like, man, that's big. The tail mount is big on this. And so then I got a small mount Husky. Look how much bigger that tail mount is, right? It's a lot bigger. And I thought, that might work on the Jonsered. So, here I am. I've already done a test fit, and yes, it does appear to work. Here we go. Let's see. Does it still move freely? Yeah, baby. Yeah. It's a brand new bar. It needs some lube, but yeah, that's good. That's good. So, I think I drained the gas out of it. I did. This will give me a perfect opportunity to try out the Duke's two-stroke oil. I have some Moto milk sitting there already made up at 50 to 1. I don't want to run 50 to 1 in that old saw. And I don't want to run Moto milk. I like to save that stuff. And I've switched to these glass bottles. So I had ordered this stuff back whenever, pre-order, right? And it took so long to get here. I thought I had already gotten it and then I misplaced it. I kept feeling like, no, it showed up, and I was like, that sucks. I didn't get my order. That's the only time I've never gotten an order from the Dukes, but then, well, that shit stinks. I ain't kidding you, it smells like rotten cooch. Things, that you don't expect. Shit, come on. I hate it when that happens. Yeah, these, doing this stuff these syringes were never meant to be exposed to a bunch of gas and oil. So that little tip quite often likes to come off, the little rubber tip. Well, it's blue. Didn't know what color to expect. Blue, green, you know. Looks like steel, ultra. Boy, there we go. There we go. It's a little bit more. This is not synthetic. And even though I've done tests that showcase a higher mix ratio, as in like, 32 to 1 versus 50 to 1, the 32 to 1 produces more power. Some say that that's not true with synthetic oils. It's only true with the non-synthetics. I don't know. But this is non-synthetic, and so go ahead and do a 32 to 1 mix, or at least close to it. Mixes up nice and dark. You know that you've got mix in that. That's a nice dark mixture. Good news is now that it's mixed up with fuel, it doesn't smell like rotten cooch anymore. How's my oil doing? This thing was leaking oil out, but Burke, you told me that it's very normal for these things to leak oil, and it's not empty of oil. Another thing that you said was that it's common if you have more than half a tank that it'll leak out. Well, probably got about a half a tank now, so it leaked out half a tank of oil. So let's see if she fires up. Oh, someone's calling me. That's potential spam. Screw you, potential spam. There we go. Okay, so I threw a tack on it real quick because that chain wouldn't stop spinning. And, but it seemed like it was idling lower than I wanted it to. So, you know, you want these things typically to idle somewhere around 2,700 RPMs, something like that, 2,700. Well, it was idling at 2,500 and the chain was still spinning. So what's that tell us, boys and girls? The clutch is bad, or the clutch springs are too loose. And you know, I know they say that you're supposed to be able to tighten those up by like a little bit of heat or something, but it seems like that would loosen it up. You know, it doesn't make sense to me. So anyways, whatever. I don't care. I'm not worried about that. We're just going to run it for a test to see if it can keep up with a stock Steel 261, which my money is on not a chance in hell, because I know that there's a lot of folks out there that really love these. And I'm not saying that they're bad. You know, I mean, the Smitty's got, I mean, his is a Husqvarna 51 that he has one of these cylinders on. And it runs really great, you know. But here's the thing. Here's the difference. He has modified his heavily. And so just like the rest of you guys that are interested in this stuff, I have spent countless hours where, you know, I couldn't sleep and I got my phone in my hand and I'm looking up and I'm reading things. I've read about everything. And there's so much stuff out there that's like these things and the Partner 5000 were hot as a firecracker right out of the box. Well, they probably were in 1982. But it's not 1982 anymore. And so to me, these have always just been like, eh. Now, once you modify them and stuff, they've got great potential. I understand that. I get it. I've ran some that really run good, really run strong and everything. But right out the box, I think the Steel 261, as big of a dog as I think that it is going to slaughter this thing. And now I'll have to run it a little bit, make sure it's tuned in right and everything. But it seems to run really well. It just seems to... That slow pickup is a problem. Look, it's got oil all over the place. All right. So I'm going to put this over here. Ultimately, it looks pretty cool, though. I like those total bars. But yeah, if any of you guys know the specifics about the bar and chain deal on these 490s, like if you know for a fact that all you need is a good hardened bar. Back in the day, they were thicker. They were like thicker this way, and the fact that it was not hardened, a solid bar, you know, then you won't be pinching the chain. But I tried multiple modern small mount Husky bars. The other one that I tried was an Oregon. I think it was this one right here, because it was a little bit wider as well. And it got better, you know, it was just a slight amount wider. And the problem literally did get better, but not good enough to where it was fixed. And so if you know that used to the bars were thicker and you didn't have the problem, or used to the bars were wider, right? The tail mount for the you know, tell me what you know. All the old small mount Huskies, the tail mount was wider. They only got smaller in the more recent years, right? And used to, they were all bigger like that. And maybe that's the number one problem. And but it seems like that's what it is to me, because I put the wider one on there. no longer had the problem. So, but if any of you guys, you old timers, right, know exactly what's going on, or people like Burke, right, who actually, he loves these things. He's got several of the Partner 5000s and stuff. So if you're like him, you just know, because these are your thing, you know. Let us know in the comments exactly what's going on. But whatever is going on doesn't really matter, because it's working now and I'm going to be able to actually test it and do a whack off. So that will be coming up here shortly. Today I've got to get everything set up and get some blocks set up so that I can actually have something to cut with. But predictions here, I think that steel 261 is going to murder it, because those things from the factory, I think they were rated at like 3.2 horsepower, maybe 3.5, something along those lines. And the steel is 400 horsepower, is 4 horsepower, roughly, you know. So maybe 4.1 or so. So as slow as I think that still is, it's still going to be faster than that guy. Also, it seemed like back then, because I know in Europe people still like to use their short bars, but here in the States we've really gravitated towards the longer bars, and so, but back then, like that saw, you probably buy it brand new with a 15-inch bar on it, maybe a 14 or 12-inch. You know, they liked small bars back then, and so whenever they were building chainsaws, they weren't building like a 50cc saw that was meant to be a screamer, was supposed to delimb little stuff like that really fast. And so they didn't have any torque. And so whenever I do this test, I'm probably going to be using a decent piece of wood. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I don't know. Maybe I'll use smaller wood. But either way, my prediction, the steel's going to whomp it. All right, and then we will try out the Duke's 2-stroke oil. So, let you know what I think of that. You know, I can already predict that I know what I'm going to think about this. I know. I know. It's going to work. It's good, cheap 2-stroke oil. That's what it's going to be, because that's just what it is. 2-stroke oil. These days, you're hard pressed. I mean, everybody gives Steel Ultra a ton of shit, right? Because it's really expensive, and I think it's probably worse than this. Certainly, I feel like it is. They just carbon up your exhaust screen so bad, it's really terrible. And but even with that, you mix it 40 to 1, 50 to 1, your saw is running right, you keep it clean, it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. This will too. This will be fine. And the good thing about this is I think you can get it for like $7 or $8 a quart. And, you know, I like doing business with these guys. I told Chris in a message, he's the guy, he's got a partner that helps him run the place, I believe. But he's the one that does all the communication and things. And, or hell, I don't know. He might be the sole proprietor. I don't know. But I was like, you make the best cheap shit on the planet. And he's like, that's our goal. You know, he ain't looking to make, you know, the stuff that's really expensive that only the elite are going to buy. He's looking to make shit for the everyman. And so far, all of their products have been just that, the best cheap shit that you can buy. So anyways, with that said, we figured out the Jonsered 490 issue of how we need to have a fatter bar. I'm very interested to know, am I the only one having this issue? Is this Jonsered that I got an older version, and then the second year they made something a little bit bigger? I don't know, but I'm very interested to know. So if you know anything, put it in the comments. All right, I've rambled enough. Talk to you later.